Today, I'll be talking about fame and misfortune. More specifically, the lesson. So the reason why I want to talk about the lesson of this episode is because there's a lot of people in the fandom who are saying that the lesson of this episode is bad. So I just want to give my opinion on that. One more important thing to mention is that this episode is supposed to be a response to all of the MLP critics out there. So that's an important thing to mention because that fact is going to be important for later on in the video. Okay, so I'm going to let Fluttershy explain the lesson of this episode.
And we can't change the way other ponies think about us, but we can change how we let it affect us.
And honestly, that's kind of a weird thing to say, especially with the context of this episode. So in this episode, most of the ponies who bought Twilight's journal are invading the lives of the main six. There were literally ponies who read the journal and wanted to be part of Applejack's family and technically became part of the family. And with Rarity, there was a literal damn riot right outside of her boutique. So it's weird that they're just sitting there being like, oh, we're not gonna let that bother us. And I mean, cool, but there's a lot of shit going on, and you should probably try and fix it instead of doing jack shit about it. Although here's the thing, if you completely remove the context of this episode, the lesson's not that bad. So this episode has two lessons. Don't let the haters get to you, and nobody's perfect. And I agree with both of them. And, you shouldn't let your haters get to you. I mean, if you're on the internet, and sometimes, maybe even in real life, there's going to be people who are going to try and get you down. And the best thing to do is to just, ignore them. And the next one, nobody's perfect. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect person. And I also really like the song Flawless, which, helped further prove the point of the lesson. I mean, nobody's perfect. We're all just a work in progress, as they said in the song. And now, the last thing I want to talk about in this video. So, remember at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that this episode is supposed to be a response to all of the MLP critics out there? Well, now I'm gonna get into that because I also critique the show myself sometimes. So there's a lot of people who say that this episode is meant to make fun of critics. And I mean, okay, look, I didn't get that at all, okay? I mean, if you pay close attention to the episode, you can see that they're mainly making fun of the critics who just complain about stupid shit, you know? This episode is making fun of a certain type of critics, you know? They're complaining about the critics who just complain about every detail. I honestly don't think that the producers of MLP have a problem with critics. Well, I mean, at least I hope not, because I also kind of critique the show myself sometimes. But I really don't think they have an issue with critics. I think they just have an issue with the critics who just complain about stupid shit. Well, at least that's what I got from the episode. Anyways, overall, the lesson of the episode is not bad at all. I mean, the only real issue that I have with this episode is, well, like I mentioned at the beginning, if you talk about the lesson with the context, it does look bad because, like I already mentioned, these ponies are invading the lives of the main six, and they're over here like, oh, we're not gonna let that bother us. So with the context, it does look bad, but if you just completely remove the context, the lesson is actually a pretty good one. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, then click the other video right here. Or you can click right here if you want to subscribe and join the fun team. Peace out.